Thank you, everyone. Okay, thank you. Okay, now uh, this session has to be very different. This session has to be very different. Why I'm saying that? Because there are two possibilities to hold or to carry forward with the proceedings. There are two possibilities. The first possibility is I should start making you recall that what's audit risk, how to explain the audit risk. I should make you understand what are key controls, how to explain the key controls, and how do we write the substantive procedures. But I really don't think so that uh, this is going to be a great idea. I really don't think so. I truly believe you have to realize what are the common mistakes students who are well prepared, what are the common mistakes which are committed by the students even though they are well prepared. You got to identify those mistakes. You got to make sure you know those mistakes, and you have to avoid those mistakes. And last but not the least, that's the part one of my today's session. And the part two of this session should be and would be what actions we have to carry forward, what should be the plan for the next 2-3 days. That's it. So this is the agenda for the day. First of all, before we start anything else, I would like to tell you and I would like to highlight that the OTQs are the real game changer. Uh, can everyone, am I clear? Can you all hear me? Am I audible? Yes, everyone can hear me loud and clear. That's fantastic. But Noah seems to have some kind of a problem. Okay. Somebody please help Noah. Noah, I would recommend you to join again. Okay. First of all, I would like to highlight that the OTQs are the real problem. OTQs are the real critical success factor. So if you are going to score 24 or more than 24 marks in the final exam, when it comes to section A, the chances of passing becomes, sky high. So I've been evaluating the mock exams. See, it is not practically possible for me to evaluate each and every mock. So I had to prioritize things, and I have been evaluating the mocks. I will be evaluating mocks even tomorrow. So as far as the Wi-Fi students are concerned, those who were in the normal batch, number one, those who were in the reset batch, those who were in the crash course batch, all those students who have attempted the mock exam and they have submitted the mock exam, they did receive the customized, personalized feedback from me over the WhatsApp with the help of voice notes. Now, just imagine there is a student right now attending this session, and he or she was not part of the paid group or not part of the normal batch. And if that student wants to know or wants to get the insights, what common mistakes students are committing, I can share very extremely important stuff uh, with you. Before we go on to that, let's talk about what was the mock exam which I gave to the students. See, the mock exam was, this was the mock exam, right? Give me a second. Okay, this was the mock exam, and there were you know 4 requirements in the part in this question number 1. I'm talking about the long questions. So there were 4 requirements. By the way, all these 3 questions in the mock exam from the past paper, that is March July 2020. It's not March June 2020. Because of the pandemic, there was no ACCA exam in the month of June, but there were exams in the July. So this exam paper is a unique one. It's called March July 2020. The part A was about the purpose of the engagement letter, and the secondary part was about the 4 items which should be included in an audit engagement letter. Now, if you want to know what are the common mistakes made by the student, many students went on to tell me that what is engagement letter. Engagement letter is a letter, it's a very important letter, it is a letter drafted by the auditor. These things are not going to get you the marks. You have to be straightforward. Straight away jump to the main thing. Tell me the purpose of the engagement letter. That's it. You are not supposed to define what an engagement letter is. So if you are going to tell me engagement letter is a very important letter, it is drafted by the auditor before the commencement of the audit, all those things will show off that you know what engagement letter is, but this is not going to get you any mark. So if somebody is telling me engagement letter should be drafted on Monday morning, it should not be drafted on Tuesday evening, it should be drafted up early in the morning, it should not be drafted late in the night. These things are not required. You are not supposed to tell me what engagement letter is, when it should be drafted, what is the color of that letter. We don't need all that stuff. We just need one thing, the purpose. Straight away, go to the purpose. The purpose is it minimizes the risk of potential misunderstandings between the client and the auditor. What the greatest purpose of the engagement letter is, it acts as an acceptance from the audit firm, and it sets out the terms and conditions beautifully. Then don't tell me 6 or 7 items which could be included in the engagement letter. Just tell me 4 items. That's it. And don't make the heading, the items which should be included in an audit engagement letter are as follows. No, you are not going to get any mark for that. Straight away tell me the responsibilities of the auditor, the responsibilities of the management, the scope and objective of the audit, the deadline, the basis of the fee according to which the audit the fee should be calculated. That's it. So I hope somebody among you will realize what's the mistake students are committing. They are trying to build up an answer. Don't build up. Just straight away jump to the main requirement. Is this clear? The first requirement, are you all getting? Are you all clear with that? What I was trying to teach you, are you clear how to avoid that common mistake? I'm a guy who's some kind of an old school. I've got a whole diary with me in which I've got the names and the mistakes which the students have committed. Trust me, I've got a huge amount of stuff with me. Somebody please help. Somebody please use the chat box, and somebody please help Poswa, please. Okay, let me continue then. What about part B? Now, be very aware. Even if you did not attempt the mock exam, you can learn a thing from me right now. I will try to give my best. When students went on to the part B, okay, is purpose same as objective, sir? Yes, the scope is different. The objective and purpose is same. Scope means the area of the work. Now, the part B, when I evaluated so many mocks, what did I observe out for the part B? First of all, majority students were not prepared for the part B, but because they attended the lectures or they read this topic somewhere in the book, all majority of the students tried to attempt this one. Okay, fine, you are trying to attempt this one. The total marks are 5 and total items are 5. Now you guys please tell me, if you are going to write 3/4 sentences on the outgoing auditor's response, how many marks are you going to get for it? If you are going to write, thank you very much Prashita, thank you Yusra, it's going to get you maximum 1 mark. So now use your common sense. I've evaluated so many mocks where there is a big bunch of, a big paragraph on the outgoing auditor's response. Now, why would you write a paragraph on that, considering there is only 1 mark? So the common mistakes or the common attributes of the failure student is they are writing excess, they are writing too many things. The only reason why a student is writing too many stuff is that individual, that student, he or she knows about the outgoing auditor's response, so he or she wants to impress the marker or examiner, but that marker or that examiner, or for that matter me, I'm not going to give you more than 1 mark. So you got to write one solid sentence on each and everything. That's it, move on. Yes, there was one tricky element over here. The third one, preconditions for an audit. There are 3 preconditions. Don't go into the details of those 3 preconditions, but many students did not even name them. You have to tell me that there are 3 preconditions for an audit. A, B, C, 3 preconditions. You have to name them at least. You have to briefly name them, but you are not supposed to write paragraphs on each and every one. So the second thing which you need to learn from this mock debrief session is we are not supposed to write paragraph in order to score 1 mark. In order to score 1 mark, you need to write one solid sentence. Yes, your sentence could be for 2-3 lines. That's it. Okay. Now the part C. The part C was describe 8 audit risks and explain the auditor's response to each risk in planning the audit of Scarlett Company. Okay. Give me a second. Okay, sorry, there was some kind of a problem. There is a question in the chat box. Sir, what if they ask us to define? Then do we have to write more than a sentence for 1 mark? See, if they are asking you to define it, you are only supposed to define it, the definition. But if they're going to ask you for the explanation, then you have to come up with the definition and then you have to add one more sentence. You have to explain it a bit. Okay. Okay, there is another question in the chat box from Arbaz. Will the columns be pre-made or do we have to make it? Arbaz, if you're not going to follow my instruction, please don't take it personally. I just want you to pass this paper. If you're not going to follow my instruction, you will not be able to pass this paper. Now listen to my instruction. You have to spend the next 4 or 5 days on the ACCA practice platform. You have never been there, my friend. You have never been there. You don't know what ACCA practice platform looks like. Because if you know what's ACCA practice platform, you should be aware that there will be columns, there will be headings. You got to attempt at least 4 days on the ACCA practice platform starting from today. I will tell you at least 4 past papers at the end of today's session, which you should type and practice using the ACCA practice platform. If somebody is unaware, for as far as the ACCA's final exam is concerned, for every part, there will be a separate place, a separate platform. So you don't have to make choices. Okay, now what? So I was describe 8 audit risks. Now, what common mistakes I faced? First of all, you should not attempt 9 or 10 audit risks. Trust me, you are not from the Avengers family. You're not an Iron Man. So please stick to the requirements and stick to the marking scheme. Do not attempt 9 or 10 audit risk, because those who attempted 9 audit risk or 10 audit risk, at the end of the day, when I went on to the last question, they left, they did not attempt the full paper. So they definitely, if you are going to override things, at the end of the day, your paper will be left out. You won't be able to attempt full 100-mark paper. So describe 8 audit risk means only describe 8 audit risk. Yes, in the exam, there will be more than 8, 9, 10, 11, that I don't know. But you have to be choosy and you have to make sure, if you know about a particular audit risk, if you're comfortable with it, if you're confident with it, okay, straight away go to their practice platform and attempt it immediately. Another important thing, do not read the full question. Read a line, read a paragraph, you found an audit risk, attempt it. Okay. Yeah. Now, what about part D? Many students, this was something which, I was like speechless. Describe substantive procedures the auditor should perform to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence in respect of the redundancy cost. Now, I want to know from all of you, do the companies have this redundancy thing every year, or is it a once in a blue moon activity? There are 2 options, every year or a once in a blue moon activity. Okay, so all of you in the chat box are absolutely right. And I think all of you must be from some other planet. You guys are not from this planet Earth, because when I was evaluating the mock exams, there are many students, according to them, they are going to apply analytical procedures and they are going to compare this year's provision for the redundancy cost with the bloody last year. Now, why would you do that? It's a one-off event. How can you compare the last year's provision for the redundancy claim with this year? You can't do that. Who told you that there was a redundancy program last year as well? Nobody told you that. So why would you apply analytical procedure? So, okay, there is a question in chat box. Hello, sir. If I write more than 5 substantive procedures on this, will the examiner mark me? Will the examiner mark me correct? First of all, do not write more than 5 substantive procedures, because you are not Captain America. See, you are not part of the Avenger team, so you won't be able to attempt the full exam if you are going to write more than 5. So don't go for it. Secondly, if somebody is going to attempt more than 5 substantive procedures, just in case, the correct ones will be marked. But I would encourage to take a deep breath, take a moment, and only attempt 5 as per the requirement. Okay. Okay. So that was it. That was the first question. Now, I'm assuming that all of you have, maybe you attempted this mock, maybe you attempted this question as a practice with your tutor, and whatever the situation is. Let's just quickly read the question. Let's skim this question. So it is 1st July and you are an audit supervisor. The name of the audit firm is called Orange Company, and you guys are auditing a new client which is called Scarlet Company. Now let me tell you how to write a poor answer. Orange and Company is planning the audit of a new client. Considering it is a new audit client, now why would you repeat that? Considering it's a new client, why would you repeat that? Straight away go, this increases the detection risk. But some of the students are so happy in rewriting the stuff, they are going to say this, considering it's a new audit client, this will increase the detection risk. Because the detection risk is increased, now they are rewriting the same thing. Because the detection risk is increased, you already said so that this is a new client and that increases the detection risk. Because the detection risk is increased, you are repeating the words, you are repeating the stuff, you are rewriting the same thing all over again. Now, an extremely important tip from my side, there are hardly 4-5 detection risk in the whole syllabus of F8. For example, new audit client. For example, your client is utilizing the services of some third party. For example, there is a time constraint with respect to audit. Or for example, the audit firm is not having good enough resources to handle the audit. You must be absolute. Yes, the client has outsourced something. You must be absolutely well prepared for all those detection risk, because there has to be at least one detection risk in your exam. And if you are following my instructions, you should not spend even 2 minutes on that particular one on the exam day, because you should be a master of it and you will straight away go to it and you will straight away attempt it. Okay. Okay, let's continue. The company's financial accountant was taken ill suddenly in May 20x5 and is unable to undertake the operation of the year-end draft financial statement. As a result, the company recruited a temporary financial accountant in early June 20x5 who will prepare the draft financial statements. Now, a smart student will say that that temporary financial accountant might not have the desired skills and competence, and as a result, the financial statements could be materially misstated. Now, don't go for assets could be overstated. Like overall, the financial statement, make your answer shorter, because that temporary financial account. Now, the response, a poor response would be that increase the sample size. Straight away go to the, no, a quality answer would say, first of all, have a discussion with the management regarding the competence of that individual. And then you might need to consider increasing the sample size. That's how you are going to operate your answer. Is this clear? Okay, any question in the chat? Yes. Okay. Well, we need to remain alert throughout the audit. That's not a perfect answer. You need to remain alert with respect to those areas where that temporary financial accountant was involved. That they have a discussion with the management, and then you got to, we need to increase the skeptic attitude. These don't apply the general answers. Go with the question. Have a discussion with the management regarding the competence of that individual. That's your first reaction. Okay, let's continue. The year-end financial statements need to be finalized quickly as the company is looking to raise finance through a bank loan to replace 3 machines in the production facility. The bank has asked for a copy of the audited year-end financial statements by the end of September 20x5 before they will agree to the loan, and the directors are keen to report strong results in order to obtain this financing. Now, considering the directors are keen to report strong results, that creates a huge possibility that the financial statements could be manipulated by the directors. So the assets and the revenues could be overstated and the liabilities and the expenses could be understated just to make the financial statements more healthy. They want to portray a good picture. They need to obtain the finance. What about the response? You need to make sure that you have to apply judgments. You have to be very critical about in the judgmental areas, because there is a huge possibility. You need to be very critical about their assumptions. And yes, you can write there are possibilities of window dressing. Well done. Window dressing. uh Misappropriation of assets. No, 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 no misappropriation of assets. Overstatement of assets, can you can say that, but not the misappropriation of assets. Okay, let's continue. In the year, the company also purchased specialized machine to develop a new range of chemicals for a major customer. Only trained staff are allowed to operate this machine, and staff members had to undertake 2 days of training, followed by an assessment at the year end of training. The training cost of 15,000 has been capitalized as part of the cost of the asset. Now, let me tell you the common mistakes students are committing over here. Students are saying the training cost, students are saying there is a risk that assets could be overstated. This is wrong. You should have said the assets are overstated. Remember when I taught you this topic called audit risk, I told you there are two things used by the examiner, two situations. Either the financial statements will be wrong, or the financial statements could be wrong. Now the management has recognized that training cost as part of the cost of the asset. So now I want to ask a question. Are you going to say
already sent a detailed report, Maria? I think you have received.
Okay, now I want to ask a question. Are you going to say there is a risk, or are you going to say this the assets are overstated? Are you going to say there is a risk that assets are overstated, or are you going to say the assets, the tangible non-current assets are overstated? Choose one option. Yes, assets are overstated, but unfortunately many students are saying that there is a risk that assets are overstated. There is not a risk. This is conclusive. You have to be conclusive about it. Tangible non-current assets are overstated. So learn, identify the common mistakes, and try not to repeat them. Okay. Okay. Now let me tell you another common mistake. Many students are saying there is a risk, or okay, fine, let's ignore there is a risk thing. Many students are saying the tangible non-current assets are overstated, but they are not highlighting the second impact. What's the second impact of it? Yes, the expenses are understated. So there are many students who are unable to identify that the tangible non-current assets are overstated and the expenses are understated. So if you want to avoid those common mistakes, tell me the dual impact. Remember when I taught you this topic called audit risk, I told you which financial statement items, not the item. So over here, the management has committed two mistakes. Number one, the tangible non-current assets are overstated and the expenses are understated. Is this clear? Fantastic. Now, what about the response? The response should be, you can have a discussion with the management why they have capitalized this training cost as part of the tangible non-current asset, and then you have to request the management to write it off and charge it in the profit or loss account. That's the correct response. Now let me tell you a wrong response, very common wrong response. Students are trying to get the breakdown, they are trying to cast it in order to make sure it's complete or in order to verify accuracy. That's not the correct response. Okay, the correct response should be focused on this 15,000. Don't bother about the rest of the amount. Stay focused on this 15,000. Have a discussion with the management regarding this 15,000. Have a discussion with the management that this 15,000 needs to be written off. That's it. Focus on this 15,000. That's my advice. Focus on 15,000. Many students are bothered about, oh, what, maybe they have recognized other items as well. Many students are trying to get supporting documents for the overall tangible non-current assets. Don't go for it. Focus on this 15,000. That's the correct way of doing it. Do we have to write the correct accounting treatment in the auditor's response? You have to just simply say that request the management to write this 15,000 in the profit and loss account, but don't say what IAS 16 says. Okay, another tip, Asif, don't say in accordance with IAS 16 training cost should not be capitalized. So don't write all that stuff in the auditor's response. About detection risk for a new client, can I write two different risks and get marks for them? Example, lack of accumulated knowledge and also opening balances may be misstated. No, Bella, no, you will get only 1 mark for that. You won't get 2 marks. It's not for this particular risk, the new client. It's about any risk. For any risk, if you're going to create 2 things out of it, you will only get 1 mark for it. Yes, according to IAS 16, training cost should have been written off in the profit or loss. That could be part of your audit risk. The correct accounting treatment should not be described in the auditor's response. Or accounting standards or audit accounting rules should never be part of your auditor's response. Prashita, you are absolutely right. Okay, let's continue. The company sources many of its raw material to be used in the chemical manufacturing process from an international supplier, and goods can be in transit for up to 3 weeks. Okay, so let's imagine I ordered some item on, let's say, 20th December, let's say, and I am going to receive all that stuff after 3 weeks. Let's say I will be receiving it on 11th or 12th January. Let's assume my year end is 31st December. The agreement with the international supplier contains a very, very, very unusual clause, and many students were not able to understand that. The agreement with the international supplier contains a clause which states that Scarlett Company is responsible for the goods as soon as they leave the supplier's warehouse. Now, many students did not understand this point, and they are of the view that the client might have recognized this inventory and the inventory could be overstated. That's wrong. See, once the goods are going to leave the supplier's warehouse, now they are the responsibility of your client. So even if your client has not received them physically, the inventory and the associated payables need to be recognized by the management. So there is a risk. I'm not sure about the accounting treatment of the client. There are 2 cases. A, the client's accounting treatment is wrong. B, you are not sure what's the client's accounting treatment. Now there is a risk that the year-end inventory and the payables are understated because the client has not recognized them. Many students are saying the inventory and the payables will be overstated. Why? Because the management would have recognized it. Guys, if the management has recognized it, this is in line with the situation. Are you all clear what this paragraph is? Yes, Asif, there is a risk of inventory and liabilities being understated because even if the management has not received the stuff, okay, Mac, I'm repeating it. Just imagine you have not received the inventory. So normally speaking, you are not going to recognize it as your year-end inventory and you are not going to recognize the payable. But this question is 100% opposite. Even though you have not received the inventory, you have to recognize the inventory in the year-end statement of financial position, and you have to recognize the year-end payable. Why? Because once the goods have, they have left the supplier's warehouse, now it's your responsibility. Even if you don't have the actual possession, you got to recognize the inventory and you got to recognize the payable. There is a risk that the year-end inventory and payables are understated. Yes, as an auditor, you would like to review the contract in order to determine when the control is transferred. Yes. Will I get a mark if I mixed a document to review? For instance, review invoice instead of, you'll get half mark. You'll not get the full mark. What if client recognized and yet did not receive the inventory due to some reason? Even that's a possibility. Well, if they recognized it and they lost it somewhere in the middle, they have to recognize it, at least as of now, because it's their responsibility now. At least they have to recognize the payable. And if they lost it altogether somewhere in between, now they have to charge the impairment and they have to write it off. That's a separate case. But there is a risk that they have not recognized it because they haven't received it actually or physically. Is this clear to everyone now? Okay. Why not recognize as once the inventory is not? You have to recognize it even though you have not received it physically, because that's what your agreement is. Read the question. Yes, there is a clause. There is a very unusual clause in the question. And according to that contract clause, according to that, it's your responsibility now. And if it's your responsibility, you have to recognize it and you have to recognize the payable as well. Can we review the correspondence between the supplier and the client? Why would you review that? And what will you get out of it? No, there is no mark for that. Okay, another point. You have carried out a preliminary analytical review which indicates that the receivable collection period has increased from 38 days to 58 days. The credit controller has confirmed that some customers are currently taking longer to pay than in previous years as they are awaiting payment from their customers. Okay. You can copy all that stuff if you want to, but you have to come up with the main event. There is a risk. There is a risk that the year-end receivables are overstated and the allowance for the doubtful debts understated, because there is a possibility that some of the receivables might not be able to pay to the company. Now, what are the common mistakes here? Many students said that receivables are at risk of overstatement. That's it. Many students did not tell me that the allowance for the doubtful debt could be understated. Many students said that the revenue could be overstated. That's a very bad answer. There has to be two things: receivables and the allowance for the bad debt. This whole thing has got nothing to do with the revenue. The revenue was very well earned by the company, so there is no doubt over the revenue. So many of you, they said the revenue could be overstated. No, there is nothing about the revenue. It's about the receivables and the allowance for the doubtful debts. Is this clear to everyone? What if the client received the inventory but invoice came after the year end? Do they recognize the inventory? Yes. If they don't know the exact amount, they need to recognize the accrual. If they know the exact amount, they need to recognize the payable. Yes. Receivables may be overstated and allowance understated. Well done, Arbaz. Risk of recoverability, Zora. Well done. So risk of recoverability means the receivables could be overstated and the allowance could be understated. In order to, what should be the response? Yes, you can inspect the post year end bank statement and cash book in order to verify whether those receivables have now been converted into cash. Yes, you can have a discussion with the management regarding the assumptions used for the sake of the allowance. Make sure those assumptions are reasonable. Yes, Bill. Yes, you are right. Isha is saying, will we get marks if we write bad debt understated? Bad debt understated. No, that's not a proper sentence. Yes, you can review the age data analysis and have a discussion with the management regarding the need to write off some of the aged receivables. Well done. Risk of bad debt understated. I would still recommend allowance for the doubtful debt rather than bad debt understated. Bad debt is an expense. The auditor's response would be to inspect the post-year end bank statement and cash book in order to verify whether those receivables have now converted into cash or not. Or the auditor response could be have a discussion with the management regarding the assumptions they have used over the allowance for the doubtful debts. Make sure those and try to understand those assumptions are reasonable. Okay. Okay, Arbaz is saying, sir, I know the procedures, but not able to frame it properly. I know the solution. I know the solution of this problem, and I can tell you the solution at the end of today's session. I'll tell you, I'll tell everyone. On 29 May 20x5, the director announced that one of its brands were being discontinued due to a fall in demand for the product. This resulted in 4 members being made redundant. The payroll department has calculated the levels of termination costs associated with redundancy, and they will be paid in July 20x5 payroll run. So the year-end provisions for the redundancy claim or for the redundancy payment could be understated. The response could be you need to evaluate the post year end bank statement and cash book in order to verify the actual amount paid is in line with the year end provision recorded by the management. The directors each received a significant bonus in the year, which has been included in the payroll charge for the year in the statement of profit or loss. Local legislation requires separate disclosure of directors' bonuses in the financial statement. Now, let me tell you the common mistakes students are committing. This whole paragraph, the risk is about the disclosures the disclosures have to be in line with local laws. Many students are concerned that why the bonus has been incorporated in the payroll expense. That's not right. You should not bother about the payroll charge. If they have incorporated the director's bonus in the payroll charge, that's correct. You should not be bothered about it. The risk is the disclosure relevant to the director's bonuses might not be adequate, especially in accordance with the local laws. So this risk has had to do with the disclosures. The disclosures might not be adequate in accordance with the local legislation. Is this clear to everyone? How about penalties due to non-compliance? Don't complicate things. Don't complicate things. The effect of not making an appropriate disclosure is a way too remote thing. Don't go into that detail. You have got too many. Don't go to the penalties. Who told you there will be a penalty, and when that penalty will be charged? Who told you they made a there will be a penalty? You simply has to say there is a risk that the disclosures made by the management regarding the directors' bonuses are not adequately not adequate enough, not in line with the local legislation, and because of that disclosures not being adequate, the financial statements will be considered materially misstated. Simple as that. You don't have to talk about which financial statement items understated or overstated. No, because this risk was about the disclosures. The disclosures might not be adequate, and as a result, the financial statements will be considered materially misstated. That's it. Don't talk about the penalties. The provision for the penalties could be understated. Don't complicate things. Can the auditor communicate this non-compliance to those charged with governance? You can do whatever you want to, but is this, the examiner has asked you how this thing that we need to communicate this to the audit committee, how does that fit in with the question? Is this audit risk? Is this auditor's response? The auditor's response is should be you need to review, you need to you need to review the disclosure note and make sure it is in line with the local legislation. Make sure that the disclosure is adequate and it is in line with the local legislation. Okay. I'm running out of time, and that is why I need to move on. And before I move on, let me tell you some quick mistakes from the students. And the quick mistakes are students are not either students are unable to identify between two things. A, client's accounting treatment is wrong, or B, client's accounting treatment might be wrong. So you have to identify the difference between the two. Okay, another common mistake. Students are rewriting the stuff. For example, Ahmed Company is a new audit client. And because this is a new audit client, that detection risk will be increased. So you have expressed choice that this is a new client. Okay, considering detection risk is increased. Now you have explained that detection risk is increased. You have said it twice. There's no point of doing that. Okay, another mistake which I saw during the evaluation of mock exams, one of the students said, well, allowance for the receivable days have gone up from 38 to 52 days. The year-end receivables could be overstated, and the allowance for the doubtful debt could be understated, and as a result, this could mislead the intended users of the financial statements. Do you have to write this? This can mislead the intended users of the financial statement. Are you going to get any mark for that? Are you going to get any mark for that, for saying this, that can mislead the intended users of the financial statements? Provisions are understated. This can mislead the users of the financial statement. You don't have to say this can mislead the user of the financial statement every time. Not at all. So don't commit such mistakes. Okay, let's go to the next question. The next question was about the control systems. Part A, describe 4 matters the auditor may consider in determining whether a deficiency in internal control is significant. Don't come up with any definition. Don't tell me what deficiency is. Don't tell me what internal controls are. Simply list down 4 items. That's it. So try not to build your answer. Try not to build your case. Straight away jump to the answer. That's the common mistake which students are committing. Okay, what about part B? In respect of internal control system of Snowdon Company, identify and explain 3 key controls on which the auditor may seek to place reliance. Now, if you have been asked to identify and explain 3 key controls, you don't have to come up with 4 or 5 answers. Now, as far as the identification is concerned, if you are going to use the ACCA practice platform, or you can and you should copy, the identification should be from the question itself. Now, what about explanation? In order to explain a key control, you have to start, or you have to use wording such as, this reduces the risk of, this ensures that, this segregation of duty will ensure that, this phenomena of authorization will reduces the risk of. You have to use such wording. Part C was identify and explain 5 deficiencies, and then you have to come up with recommendations. Again, the identification should be from the question, and the explanation should be in your own words. How to explain this increases the risk of. Okay. Okay, let's quickly explore the question. Okay. It is 1st July 20x5 and you are an audit supervisor with Rocky & Company, reviewing the extracts from the internal controls documentation in preparation for the interim audit of S Company. The company's year end is 30th September 20x5. The company provides training services for individuals looking to become qualified engineers. S Company's customers are the employers that send their employees for training on a weekly basis. S Company runs classes in 45 training centers across the country. So there is no deficiency or no key control as yet. That was just a wastage of time. The company has a small internal audit department which has experienced significant staff shortages and is currently under-resourced. This has resulted in a reduction in their program of work for the year in many areas. Now, remember, internal audit is part of the internal control system. And if that internal audit department is under-resourced, or if they are not having experience, they are experiencing significant staff shortages, if they are significantly or currently under-resourced, this is a significant compromise on a very important control. And as a result of that, this could result in an internal audit department not operating effectively. They won't be able to monitor the things which they should. What should be your recommendation? You should have a discussion with the management and you should recommend them that they need to recruit more competent staff in order to make sure that their internal audit department is well resourced so that they can perform their task efficiently. What about non-current asset system? Snowden Company's training centers are either owned by the company or held under a long-term lease. The company also has a head office and a central warehouse for storage of training materials. Each training center is set up as a separate department and is given an annual capital expenditure budget. But some departments have already significantly exceeded their annual budgets. So if some departments have currently exceeded their budgets, it means there is a possibility that this could lead to, or there is a risk that they are not utilizing the budgets in the best interest of the company. Maybe they are overspending in some areas, which is not in the best interest of the company, which will compromise the long-term profitability of the company. When new equipment is acquired, so this was another deficiency, second deficiency. The recommendation should be they should not be allowed to deviate from the policy. Yes, this is an example of misappropriation of asset. Yes, sir, you are absolutely right. This is finally an example of misappropriation of asset. When new equipment is acquired, the finance director classified the expenditure between the capital and revenue, noting the classification on purchase order. The classification is made with reference to the guidelines established by the finance director, who sample checks that the capital or revenue expenditure allocation has been correctly applied. So that's a complete control. A, I give you the guidelines. B, I also perform some kind of sample check. So this is one key control. This will ensure that the assets are properly classified and the assets are not misclassified in the financial statements. So this is one control. Okay, part of the work which as company's internal audit department is required to carry out is a comparison of assets that per the non-current asset register and those physically present in each of the centers. This year's program of visit, which has been planned and carried out on the same basis as the previous year, means by the year end, internal audit will only have visited 4 largest centers and 5 of the other centers randomly selected. Yes, some of the centers will not be selected and there could be problems over there. So this is another deficiency. Now I would like to highlight another common mistake which students have made. What about the payroll system? This is important. Snowden Company has a human resource department responsible for setting up all new joiners. This is an example of segregation of duty, and this segregation of duty will ensure that only genuine employees are set up and being paid. Pre-printed joiner forms which require all necessary data. Now please understand, pre-printed joiner form is a separate key control, and HR department is responsible for setting up all new joiners. It's a separate key control. Don't amalgamate these two key controls. It's a common mistake made by the student. They have amalgamated these two key controls, although there are 2 easy key controls. Yes, the explanation of both these key controls will be more or less same. Both will ensure that only genuine employees with the correct details will be set up and being paid. But these are two. Yes, that it reduces the risk of fictitious employees being set up and paid. Yes. Okay. Okay. All members of the payroll department can amend employee standing data in the payroll system as they have access to the password, which is changed by the payroll director on a regular basis. Obviously, if everyone is going to have access to this sensitive standing data, there could be unauthorized changes which are not correct, and as a result the payroll cost could be misstated. Yes, it's a deficiency. The recommendation should be that the access to the standing data should be extremely restricted to limited number of employees, and there should be some kind of, you have to add some value. There should be some kind of a review with respect to changes in the standing data, so that we could figure out who made changes and were those changes were authorized. Okay, I'm skipping a bit. After passing a credit check, new customers are set up in the receivable ledger master file and credit limit is set by the sales director. Now, if the credit limit is set by the sales director, don't say there is a lack of segregation of duty. Don't say that. The credit limit is established by the sales director. Sales director is a senior person. Don't say there is a lack of segregation of duty. No. Read on. The credit limits then remain unchanged in the system for a long period of time unless a review is requested by the customer. So considering the fact that credit limits remain unchanged, there is a risk, that some of the credit limits are too high, leading to the irrecoverable debts, and some of the credit limits are too low, leading to the loss of future sales. Now the common mistake number one, students recognize this as a deficiency with respect to that the sales director is establishing it, and they said this is lack of segregation of duty. No, not at all. This is not a segregation. There is no lack of segregation of duty. Second common mistake, students said that this could lead to irrecoverable debts. You have to come up with full explanation. If the credit limit for Ahmed is too low, this would lead to loss of future sales. And if the credit limit, for example, for the Salima is too high, that would lead to loss of future. If the credit limit is too low, that will lead to loss of future sales. And if the credit limit is too high, that will lead to high risk of bad debts or recoverability of the debts. Is this clear? Yes, the credit limits is the recommendation should be the credit limit should be reviewed regularly by a senior official in accordance with the situation or in accordance with the you know credit ratings or the credit history. Okay, let me explain the credit limit thing all over again. Wait a second. Give me a second. It was not the risk, it was a deficiency. This is all from the question. After passing a credit check, a credit limit is set for all new customers by the sales director. But these credit limits are not reviewed after this unless a review is requested by the customer. How many marks you are going to get for all that? How many marks you are going to get all that? Bella and Mr. Posholi. How many marks you are going to get that for that? Yes, half mark. And this is what we called identification of the deficiency from the question itself. And you are going to get half mark for that. Is this clear? Well done, half mark. Now you have to explain it in order to get another half mark. If credit limits are not reviewed regularly, or you could simply start, this could result in, or there, this could lead to, or there is a risk that if credit limits are not reviewed regularly, this could lead to they could be out of date. Yes, they could be out of date, resulting in limits being either too high or too low. Now, if the credit limits are too high, and sales are made to poor credit risk, or too low, leading to loss of future sales. Let me simplify that. If credit limits are not reviewed regularly, this could lead to credit limits being too high, leading to high risk of bad debts. Or if the credit limits are too low, this could lead to loss of future sales. I have squeezed it, and this will give me another half mark. Is this clear? Is this clear to everyone now? My dear students, why don't you understand one thing? The audit exam which you are going to experience on Monday, 6th December, will be a combination of 4 past papers. You have to understand that there are 2 parts of all of you want to pass this paper, right? There are two stages. Stage one, you have to understand the concepts of audit risk, the concepts of control deficiencies, the concepts of key controls, the concepts of substantive procedures. The second stage is practicing the paper, practicing the past paper, and attempting it as it is on the final exam day. All of you are crystal clear with respect to stage one. You do understand what audit risk is, what auditor's response is, what's key controls, what deficiencies, what substantive procedure. If you are lacking, which you are lacking in the stage two, you need to practice. And you need to practice. If you are going to practice 3 or 4 past papers within the next 4 days, according to my instructions, the final exam will be a combination of those 4 past papers. The final exam will be a combination of those 5 papers. At least 80% of the section B will be a combination of those 4 past papers. Yes, there will be a little audit risk, a little new control, a here and there, but majority of the stuff will be a repeat extracted from those past papers. You have to practice it. This credit limit thing, which you just experienced, is a very common thing. It's all over in the past papers. That key control, the HR was responsible, that segregation of duty, that avoids the risk of fictitious employees being paid up and set up and paid. It's a very common thing. That pre-printed forms having all that stuff, it's a very common thing. That receivable days have gone up, it's a very common thing. That year-end provision could be understated, it's a very common thing. That disclosure might not be adequate in line with the local laws, that's a very common thing. Yes, there were a little unusual item. For example, the year-end inventory and payables could be understated. Why? Because once the goods are in transit, it's the management responsibility. They should have recognized it. Yet, yes, it was a bit tricky one. So you need to practice it according to the instructions. But you don't have to practice 20 different questions on audit risk. You don't have to practice 20 different questions on controls. You have to practice 4 questions on audit risk, 4 questions on controls, and that's it. Is this clear what I'm trying to say? Okay. So then we went on to the last question, and the last question was about substantive procedures, and the last part was about impact on audit report. Now, I was so sad to realize that majority students did not get 5 out of 5. Very sad. Why I'm so sad? Because those students who were part of my regular batches, I invested at least 1 hour on that. And those students who were part of the webinar, yeah, I invested day 4, at least half an hour or 1 hour on that. And I told you how to write this answer. First of all, briefly discuss the issue from the question. Don't start from the materiality. Then after having a brief discussion on the question itself, for this particular part, you had to discuss the International Accounting Standard 10. And you had to discuss this is an adjusting event, because there were conditions of the legal action at the year end. So in accordance with IS 10, it was an adjusting event. Now, if many of you were focused on the disclosure, guys, it's an adjusting event according to IS 10. Then you have to tell me the materiality. Yes, all of you, and I repeat, all of you calculated the materiality pretty well. I remember it was 2% and 16%. Then now again, the disappointment prevails. Students are saying qualified opinion, that's it, full stop. Where is that qualified opinion except for, and I think 99% students did not score the last potential mark about the basis for qualified opinion. So you have to discuss the question, briefly discuss the issue from the question. Then you have to discuss the relevant accounting standard, which was IS 10 in that case, adjusting event. Then you have to discuss the materiality. All of you scored the marks in materiality. Then you have to discuss the opinion, which is qualified opinion, considering it's material, not pervasive. So a qualified opinion, except for, then you have to explain what basis for qualified opinion looks like. Basis, the position of the basis for no information for materiality. No, there was information on materiality. Here is the information for materiality. This potential breach of transport regulation. Janzeb, try this question all over again today, or tonight rather. Will you? You have to evaluate the question. This part had a connection with the previous part. This is a common phenomena of the examiner. If the last part will be on impact on audit report, that impact on audit report part will have a connection. Usually it will have a connection with some part which you have already attempted for the sake of substantive procedures. So that was very unfortunate. A common mistake, students are not getting 5 out of 5. Now, who's stopping you to score 5 out of 5 over here? Gooseberry, of March 2018 past paper question available in your kit called Gooseberry. That question has this requirement. This question from March, July 2021 has this requirement. 2. Insects for you, a December 2016 past paper has this requirement. Latest Kaplan kit has got a question called Pineapple Beach. In that question, we have got this exam requirement. So I just told you 4, right? Type these 4 answers thrice within the next 2 hours, and I bet you'll get 5 out of 5 on the exam day. Develop 5 different steps, 5 different answers, 5 different things. Briefly discuss the issue from the question, something about the accounting standard, something about the materiality, something about the opinion paragraph, and then something about the basis for qualified opinion paragraph. Okay, let me repeat the question names. Otherwise, if you attended the day 4 of the webinar, it's there. Question number 1 for the practice of impact on audit report. The question right in front of you from March, July 2021. That's the first question you have. The name of this question is, you are an audit supervisor, the Encore company from March, July 2021. March, July 2021. The second question is Gooseberry company. It's available in your Kaplan kit. Otherwise, it's from March, June 2018. Gooseberry company. The third question is Insects for you, which is from December 2016. Insects for you, December 2016. Again, available in your Kaplan kit. The fourth question could be Pineapple Beach, available in the latest Kaplan kit. That's an amended question. Latest Kaplan kit, Pineapple Beach. We did that in the day 4 of the webinar as well. Even there are 2-3 more questions which has the same requirement. Maybe Elunda has, or maybe Andromeda. I don't remember the name of the questions as of now. Okay, thank you, Asif, for helping me out. Dashing has this same requirement. So that makes 5. Dashing 5. Dashing is available in your Kaplan kit. Now, if I am a pathetic student, below average, and if I am going to write and type these 5 steps, and according to those 5 steps, I'm going to attempt these 5 questions twice tonight, it will take 2 hours, 3 hours. But what happens then? Will I be able to get 5 out of 5 on the exam day, considering I'm a pathetic student? Okay, Asif is saying yes. Even if I am a pathetic student, if I'm going to work on these 5 questions and those 5 steps, will I be able to get 5 out of 5? So Asif is saying yes. Do you all agree with that? Okay, all of you are in agreement with this. But guess what? 99% students did not score 5 out of 5. And guess what? the greater majority will not score 5 out of 5 in the final exam. Why? Because you are not going to work harder. Simple as that. But if you will get it. Choice is yours. You're a professional. You have to choose your decisions very wisely. Now it's up to you. Okay. Now, let me conclude this session. And before I conclude this session, I have got few important things to share with you. First of all, please attempt at least 2 sessions, 2 rounds on OTQs per day. For example, early in the morning, you have to attempt 3 OTQs from BPP kit. That will take 40 minutes, right? Then you have to evaluate your answers. That will take another 5 to 10 minutes. Then you have to read the solution of those 3 OTQs. That will take another half an hour. You have to understand why A is not correct, why B is correct. So you have to spend 1.5 hour on 3 OTQs up early in the morning, starting from today or tomorrow for that matter. And the same pattern you have to repeat at the end of the day, maybe at the evening or maybe in the night. So you must attempt 3 OTQs from the BPP kit up early in the morning and 3 OTQs from the Kaplan kit up in the later in the day. So that's my first tip for the rest of the days. Make sure you are damn good in OTQs, because if you're going to score 24 or more marks in the OTQs, your chances of passing this paper go sky high. Just imagine you score 24 out of 30. Now you need just 26 out of the 70 marks. Second tip, try to identify 4 past papers and attempt those 4 past papers on the ACCA practice platform. No other platform. ACCA practice platform. Now those 4 past papers could be any 4 past paper, but you have to make sure those 4 past papers should be recent ones. Now if you are going to open up your myACCAglobal.com, myACCA, you are going to log in, you will find couple of past papers already uploaded, but you can add more past paper. The first past paper which I would recommend to you is this one, which is called March July 2020, which I gave to my students as a mock exam. The second past paper which I would recommend is March June 2019. Don't worry, I'll share the details in the WhatsApp group. March June 2019. Now if somebody is wondering why I'm recommending March June 2019, because that past paper had 3 OTQs as well. The third past paper which I'm recommending is March June 2021. The fourth and the last past paper, now you have to listen to it very carefully. The fourth past paper which I'm recommending is March June 2018. Now, which one is March June 2018? It's the one having those berries in it. The gooseberry, the raspberry, the blackberry. Now, why I'm recommending that particular paper? That particular paper, past paper, which is actually March June 2018, raspberry, blackberry, gooseberry, whatever the berries are, that particular past paper has got a huge importance according to me. What's the importance? There is a separate article by the ACCA examination team, and that article is relevant to that particular past paper. So you can only understand that particular article by the marking team if you have typed and practiced the particular past paper on the ACCA practice platform. So Prashita, you have to read no technical article except for one, which I will share in the WhatsApp group. Only one technical article, and that technical article that technical article will be about the March, June 2018 paper. So first of all, you have to master that Berry paper, Gooseberry, Logan Berry, and then you have to read that article. Now listen to me very carefully. I will share all those past paper. I will share the link. I will share that technical article in the WhatsApp group. Now listen to me. Please, for the next few days, do not try a new question. No, 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 no. As far as OTQs are concerned, keep on doing it. 3 in the morning, 3 in the evening. Maybe somebody wants to do 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon, 3 in the night. It's up to you. But at least choose 2 rounds. But as far as the long questions are concerned, you have to identify 4 past papers. Today is, well, Wednesday, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You have to identify 4 past papers, and you have to solve those 4 past papers at least twice on the ACCA practice platform. And now please listen to me. Let's imagine you have selected this particular paper, March, July 2021, and you are going to attempt it tomorrow early in the morning on the ACCA practice platform. Consult the solution for the sake of every key control. Consult the solution for the sake of every control deficiency. Consult the solution for the sake of every audit risk. Consult the solution for the sake of every auditor's response. Remember, I told you there are 2 stages. Stage 1, concepts. You all are crystal clear. You all are there. Stage 2, you have to practice. And there has to be, in the exam, there will be an element of monotony. There will be an element of repetition. So consult the solution and reproduce your answer with the help of the solution. Squeeze it. Use the wording of the examiner. Attempt the March, July 2021 paper with the help of the solution, with the consultation of solution tomorrow. Then reattempt that paper in the evening, again with the help of the solution. I may sound very weird to you, but trust me, if you are going to practice in this way for the next 4 days, the 5th day will be a day of victory. It will be a winning day for you, because on the exam day, you will realize that all those things which you practice all over again, 4 particular past papers twice, plus that article which I'm going to share, you will not be able to, you don't have to think much. And even if there will be a little audit risk, a little key control here and there, anything, which will deviate from your practice, you will be able to do it. Don't worry. Now, if you've got any concerns or any questions, please raise your concerns and raise your questions. Somebody please share the link to the somebody please share the link of the WhatsApp group in the chat box. Thank you very much. Okay, Sarah, I am facing a lot of difficulties while solving OTQs. Okay. First of all, my recommendation to you is that you should have 3 rounds per day for the next 4 days rather than 2. Secondly, you need to invest at least equal time on the solutions. You need to read the solution. You need to understand why A is correct, why B is not correct. So read the solution, invest time on the solution, and have 3 rounds. Okay. Can we have the link to the WhatsApp group? Somebody will share the link. OTQs are tough. Yes, OTQs are tough, but OTQs will give you a walk in the park on the final exam day if you are going to work harder in the next 4 days. Sir, there are so many knowledge base. I'm not able to remember all those. I work on it. Any tip? Now you have to ignore the knowledge base. Don't worry about the knowledge base. Don't focus on OTQs and focus on that technique. Don't bother about knowledge base anymore. Now we are left with 4 days only. So you don't have to worry about it. Okay, thank you very much, Vinny. You said you will help with how to structure our answers. We have ideas, but challenge is how to structure the answer. Okay, now I've helped you. You have to attempt 4 past papers according to my techniques twice per day. For example, paper name is March, July 2021. Day is Thursday, which is tomorrow according to my local time. You have to attempt it twice with the help of solution. Squeeze that answer for yourself if you need it, but consult the solution. Automatically your answers will be in a far more structured form. Thank you very much, Zora. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Any other query, any other question, any other concern, please go ahead. Thank you very much. Let me tell you once again. Basically, I have selected March, June papers. March, June 2018, March, June 2019, March, July 2020. That June, there was no attempt in June, and March, June 2021. Those 4 papers, you have got 4 days. You can rock it. I'm telling you, you know, in my school life, there used to be a paper called social studies. That social study paper was always a mixture of last 3 years paper. That what happens in F8. But don't assume that without understanding the things, you won't be able to reproduce it. You won't be able to reproduce the quality. So if you want to reproduce a quality, first of all, you have to understand the concepts and logic, which you have already covered it. Trust me, you are there. Now you just need to channelize things. And how to channelize things? Don't evaluate or don't read and don't go for 20 questions. No, just repeat those questions. Janzeb, let me repeat the past papers once again. It's all about March, June, March, June, March, June, March, June. 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. March, June, 2000. But please understand, you don't have to attempt those questions on your Microsoft Word. No, 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 no. You have to attempt it on ACCA practice platform, not any other platform, not even on Wi-Fi's practice platform. It has to be on ACCA practice platform. Yes, you won't be able to save it. You can save it for the, you can copy it at the end of it, at the end of the day. Baz, you can amend your sentences, but try not to, your procedure has to make sense. That's it. Yes, you can download it as a PDF. Then you can use it on the, I don't know what you have to do, but you have to use the ACCA practice platform. Okay, somebody is asking me for pocket notes for last minute revision. Okay, I'll send the pocket notes, latest pocket notes of audit and assurance in the WhatsApp group. Although I'm not a big fan of those pocket notes, but I'll send those pocket notes in the WhatsApp group. This is a gift from my side. Thank you very much. If you have got any other query, you're more than welcome to use the chat box. Otherwise, I have to take your leave, and I wish you all the best. And listen to me, another important thing. When you will be attempting your final exam, somebody is going to come up with a thing in your ear and your brain that, hey, Moses, hey, Winnie, hey, Zora, you can't do that. And let's leave it. Let's give up. Let's attempt it in March 2022 with far more better preparation. Don't listen to that shit. Trust me, if you are going to remain self-motivated and optimistic. And if you are going to say, no, 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 I'm not going to give up, and I will go and I will fight for the next 3 hours, and I will fight, I will fight, I will fight, and I just need 50 marks, and I will fight, you will get it. So if you're going to keep on fighting till the end of the exam, once you'll be out of the exam, you'll pass the paper. So it's all about staying motivated throughout those 3 hours. And if you will remain motivated, and if you're not going to give up in that 3 hour period, you'll get the 50 mark. By the way, how many marks all of you need? How many marks? 70, 72, 80, 57, 62, 85. What do you want? Well, I just need 50 marks. I don't know about you. I just need 50 marks. We all will prepare for 100 out of 100. But on the exam day, I just need 50 marks. That's how you remain optimistic. Some of you might not be able to understand one last, let's be a little informal. See, if let's talk about cricket. If we are chasing 340 runs in an ODI match, which is a 50 over match, we don't have to score 15 or 20 in every over. We just have to take the match till the very end. We just have to stay in the game, stay in the game. We have to take it deep. We just have to stay optimistic. And at the end of the day, you'll get what you want. So please don't give up too early. Keep on fighting for the straight 3 hours, and you have got everything what it requires to get the 50 marks. So that's it from my side. My responsibilities are, I need to share pocket notes in the WhatsApp group, and my second responsibility is I need to share that particular article in the WhatsApp group, and your responsibility is to attempt those 4 past papers on the ACCA practice platform, and every past paper has to be practiced twice, and you need to learn something out of it. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Thank you. Yes, the recording of this particular session will be available, and you can share the link, or you can recommend it to anyone who is willing to, or who has to attempt this AA paper in the December attempt. Thank you very much. Thank you, Janzeb. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Prosper. Thank you very much. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Fazila. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, Pravina. Thank you, Zan. Thank you, Shawly. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mirhabib. Thank you. Thank you, Brown. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hidayah Abdullah raised hand. Please go ahead. Ask me a question if you want to. I'm still there. No question. Thank you. WhatsApp link. WhatsApp link. Wait a second. Let me post the WhatsApp link again. Wait a second. Oh, Umar Habib has posted the WhatsApp link. Thank you, everyone. So here's your WhatsApp link. So Judith, I'll get back to you on WhatsApp. I'll get back to you on WhatsApp. Judith, you are the only one who is left. So I'll get back to you. Thank you.